Okay. Hello and welcome to our conversation about healthy sleep tips. We have a lot of new moms in our practice, a lot of moms who are toddler bound. I didn't sleep for 4 years. I'm like an expert on what it is like to be totally sleep deprived. It's not a pretty sight, I can tell you that right now. We have people who deal with insomnia. We have people who deal with kind of occasional stress-based, restless sleep, et cetera, et cetera. And we have some who also are not sleeping well due to immune challenges. But it's a big topic because if we don't have restorative sleep, our brain cannot drain. We are foggy and we feel sort of hungover the next morning, and nobody got to have any fun to get to that hangover. So we got to talk about healthy sleep tips for you guys. I'm going to be looking at my notes because I have a lot to say to you today. The benefits of healthy sleep include boosted immunity. We are far more susceptible to immune challenges, to stress. Like you can awaken dormant immune challenges by stress and by not getting enough sleep. So the benefit to healthy sleep is just tremendous in that category. Obviously, increased energy and productivity are huge. Weight management, that's a thing with great sleep, balancing your mood, and all over improving your energy and focus. A lot of people would say like, well, what's the deal with weight management? Your cortisol levels go off, your body will store more fat. So getting into a healthy sleep routine is quite important. Any lane too, if anybody pops in with questions, just pop them into the chat so I can see that and I can address those as needed. Now, some insomnia comes in bits and spurts, right? So you can have like acute or short-term insomnia, and it might be a few days, a few weeks, even just a couple of months. And that's most often related to, a recent traumatic event or like family stress or work stress, struggling with sleep. They're just up at night, they're wondering, they're dealing with uncertainty. That's a struggle for lots of folks at the moment. And so handling stress with them is more of a priority, because handling the stress, giving them ways to be more mindful about their days, is giving them more peaceful sleep in the evening. It's suggested that there's no known cause for insomnia. Now, in my world of clinical mastery and nutrition response testing, we are able to really find the root cause for what people are dealing with. And when you handle the root cause, then those normal functions will come back around. Like, you want that optimal health. So we handle the immune challenges, we handle the inflammation, or we handle the food or toxicities that are in your air or in your body causing problems, and these normal functions come around. Your hormones work well, your blood sugar balances out, your sleep is great. I spend less time talking about, well, what, I should say there's a root cause, but in Western medicine, we can't see anybody necessarily pointing to that. So there's some ideas. Suggested hormones. So sometimes there's this menopausal thing for females, but there's also hormones for men. And I do see that a bit in our practice. The disruptive, having small children waking you several times a night, having a partner that snores a lot, and you're having to deal with that, having a room that is too well lit at night can cause a disruption to that circadian rhythm, and that's frustrating for lots of people. Shift work or perhaps traveling over time zones can also create acute insomnia state. And then we produce less melatonin as we age. And sometimes that can be a factor for people in a state of insomnia and not sleeping well. So this is an interesting one. So I grew up taking like Sudafed and I don't know what they're called, Sudafed and it was like a sinus decongestant, but I didn't know that could feed into insomnia and sleep problems. I'm looking at my notes at this right now. Any bronchodilators, albuterol, or Proventil inhalers can create short-term or long-term insomnia, and beta blockers. Those are also associated with sleep disruptions. So you also have like that stress or PTSD, like we spoke of earlier. That can be a thing that can contribute to sleep issues, whether short or long-term. So we look at what is the secret to a good night's sleep. And here are just a few points that, we always look here at, like, what can you DIY? What important work can you put in at home on your own time that you value to bring about whatever status of health you are looking for? Exercise is huge. So moving through your day helps prime your body and your mind for deeper, more restful sleep. So I pulled some information from Bulletproof, right? I love following Dave Asprey and I love what he has to say. And he has these 3 points or 3 or 4 points: exercise, your sleep space, and your daily routine, which I'm a huge fan of daily routine. Reducing stress and nervousness can clear your mind and ease you into restful sleep. So how many of us lay there at night and we're in the hamster wheel? Sometimes we're going around and around and around with the same problem, but sometimes we're behaving like the world police and trying to manage everything for everybody, and that doesn't serve you or anybody around you. The other piece is managing nutrient dense food intake. So the right food at the right time can really bring about healthier, more restorative sleep. So this kind of speaks to that question of, is blood sugar too high or too low a problem for you and disrupting your sleep cycle? A couple tidbits here. So if you're a person who looks at like occasional sleeplessness, this could be due to travel, this could be due to stress. Sublingual melatonin. So my favorite melatonin is by a company called Energetics. And it's so great because it's just under the tongue. It's a liquid. You just hold it there for about 30 seconds and do about 5 sprays. So you could spray just in your mouth, or you could lift up your tongue and spray right under your tongue. But if you do 5 sprays about 30 minutes before you go to bed, you'll have an easier time falling into sleep, and you may indeed stay asleep more easily. Now, another little tip for that would be you could leave that melatonin spray on your bedside table. And if you get up to use the bathroom and you sort of dread getting up to use the bathroom because you know you're going to be back in bed twiddling your thumbs, or you wake up to flip over and, 45 minutes later realize you're still wide awake and thoroughly annoyed, you could keep that melatonin there and then do, 3 to 5 more sprays under the tongue or in the mouth to see if you could bring about more restful sleep with that. And that works for a lot of people. If falling to sleep is more of your issue and you're not attributing it to stress and you are not in your head and you're just like, I'm literally counting sheep and nothing is happening, we might then want to look more at the blood sugar levels. So having a snack of a good high fat and a carb right before bed can keep your blood sugar stable while you sleep. So if your blood sugar crashes in the night, it's definitely enough to wake you, and that is so frustrating. So then you want to back up and look at your day and bring in balanced sleep throughout the day, or excuse me, don't be sleeping during the day. Balanced sleeping throughout the day important and helpful in keeping that blood sugar balanced. So that might look for you like eating every few hours. I always say it looks like eating like you're pregnant or eating like you're feeding toddlers, where you might have breakfast and then a mid-morning snack, lunch, a mid-afternoon snack, dinner, and a snack right before bed. That is counter to people who are wanting to lose weight. I know that's so frustrating a conversation for them. They're like, I want to lose weight, so why would I be, eating more frequently throughout the day? It doesn't mean that you're eating more food or bigger portions. You might have, say, you might still have your 3 meals a day, but you might slim them down just a bit, and then you might bulk up 2 of your snacks. And you're eating the same amount of food. You're just dividing that among 5 times per day and finding that you just feel better. We don't really take people into like an intermittent fasting mode or conversation until we know that their blood sugar is balanced and they'll be more comfortable. And that's something that they can take on much more easily that way. So blood sugar low or high just lends itself to different scenarios around sleep. High blood sugar is more insomnia. Low blood sugar is more of that like waking with that night sweat kind of feel. And again, berries, like a whole milk yogurt with berries is a good snack before bed. You could do like apples with almond butter. That's a really easy snack to have before bed. Some people really like shakes. So if you could do like, try your favorite protein shaker. We have many here at the office that you could choose from, and could stir in some melted coconut oil, or find like Bulletproof has what's it called? Brain octane, I think. It's a really easy snack to have before bed. So you could do like apples with almond butter. That's a really easy snack to have before bed. Some people really like shakes. So if you could do like, try your favorite protein shaker. We have many here at the office that you could choose from, and could stir in some melted coconut oil, or find like Bulletproof has there's an MCT oil that they have that's great at night. Now, I'm guilty of busy brain, just busy, busy, busy. You know, what are we doing with the kids? What are we doing at the office? Have all these things going on. So that's what I call the hamster on a wheel. Some helpful ways around this can be, one thing that you could do about protein is that it can help your body make more serotonin, and that helps you regulate your sleep cycle. The other thing is plugging in something like 5-HTP. That's definitely going to make more serotonin. So the sleep cycle can just be more regulated on its own. Mintran and Minchecks by Standard Process are really great for sleep with those people who have that busy brain. Magnesium in the form of magnesium glycinate, which is a Nutridyne product that we use, or Easy Meg, which is just a kind of whole food based powder of magnesium from Standard Process, is really nice as well. Helps to calm down that busy brain. I like to do my magnesium in the morning, and that seems to help. I don't notice a difference doing it right before bed, but some people do test better to have their magnesium later in the day. Now, if you're a hot flashes, night sweats kind of person, that could be more hormone related for you, you might try something like the MediHerb line by Standard Process. Their wild yam complex can be nice for calming that down. And then, you know, if you're working with a practitioner, either us or otherwise, checking all of those endocrine organs and also looking at cardiovascular support. That is one thing that you want balanced out when you're dealing with your hormones. Now, if you are waking to use the bathroom, and that's the only reason why you're struggling, is I get up 2 to 3 times a night to pee, and then I can't go to sleep after that. So you're going to want to avoid things like soda and coffee because they're natural diuretics. So even drinking those in the morning can be problematic. You definitely want 8 hours between coffee and soda if you're drinking those things at all. I mean, I definitely wouldn't recommend soda, but if you're a coffee drinker, you definitely want 8 hours between drinking it and going to bed, if the sleep isn't going well for you. Blood pressure medication can also contain diuretics, so that's kind of a trick. You know, if you're taking a medication to manage something over here, but it's creating another problem, you might want to look at what lifestyle modifications you can make to handle and manage your blood pressure, such that you might not need that medication, and taking that diuretic out of your body and then sleeping better because of it. Stress, 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 stress. Such a big conversation. And stress is relative to the individual. So the way somebody looks at you could occur to be stressful. You could have a small nonverbal, I don't even want to say confrontation, but experience with someone that's like transferring this perception of stress onto you, and you carry that throughout your day, and it builds up and you don't talk about it or communicate it. You could have stress of kids or job or lack of job. You know, maybe COVID, this conversation, be a big stressor for a lot of people. So there are a handful of supplements that we like to use for stress. The Energetics line of homeopathic remedies, they have Relax Tone, Relief Tone, Fields of Flowers, Calm 5. Those guys are so great. Some people can get away with using just one, and some need a little bit through for impact, like they can stop, get some calm from that. And those with littles and adults alike. So it's very versatile to have for sure. Orchex is a supplement from Standard Process, and we mentioned something called Minchecks earlier. They're cousins. That's what I like to say, is they're cousins. And it's almost like a mineral tranquilizer. So it's very calming to the nervous system, particularly if you have the experience of like, I'm going to blow, I'm so stressed, I'm so frustrated, or you see like your kid or your teenager just boiling, you know, like a volcano is about to burst. Orchex is your guy. It's very helpful. Standard Process has 2 supplements, one called Enerve, the other called Calm, C-A-L-M, with capital letters. That's also a great supplement. Now, there's also a lot of just mindfulness techniques or modalities that you could bring into managing your stress. So the Calm app is great. I love the Brain Tap app. It literally goes in there and changes my brain waves, and I'm in such a alert but sleepy state when I'm done, but like it's as if I just slept 8 hours. It's amazing. I love it. I'm an advanced facilitator with Psyche. I really love that work. It brings about a lot of calm and decreased stress for people as we just handle the limiting beliefs that we have in the background. Reiki, energy work, talk therapy really works great for people. Counseling works great for some. Emotional freedom technique. We have done a couple sessions on that here as a group, EFT, otherwise known as, and even just exercise we talked about earlier. Dave Asprey wrote a book called Game Changers. It's on my list. I haven't read it, but I've read a lot about it. And I grabbed a quote from him sharing about that. So in Game Changers, he speaks to that meditation was one of the most commonly cited recommendations top level leaders and innovators made to perform better at life. In huge numbers, they talked about meditating and using breathing techniques to find a state of peace and calm. On a biological level, meditation has been shown to significantly reduce levels of stress hormones, cortisol and epinephrine. Left unchecked, these hormones contribute to system-wide damage, including chronic disease, fatigue, major sleep difficulties, and depression. Adaptogenic herbs also help adapt in the face of stress, and they're powerful supplements to add to your stress management toolkit. And they work in a few different ways, okay? So ashwagandha reduces stress by helping the hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal glands communicate effectively together. So if what we call the HPAT axis, if those endocrine glands are not all in communication and you've got somebody kind of like hijacking your brain, it's literally, we have that experience when we're stressed, like I was just hijacked. So we want those to be properly regulating the testosterone overproduction and making that connection in communication. Something called Kava Forte is really nice too by Standard Process. It's very, very relaxing and helpful for like focus. Like if focus is where you need to bring your attention when stress pulls you out of being in a state of focus, and that's where you need to be. And sometimes that's a helpful sleep aid for people as well, to put that Kava piece in there. Sometimes it's just a vitamin and mineral deficiency that people have. So we talked about magnesium glycinate, 400 to 600 milligrams a day. You could check in between to see where you are and see if that helps your sleep patterns. Calcium could be one too that people are deficient in, that could really bring about helpful sleep for them. And vitamin D. So daily exposure, particularly to late afternoon sun, is helpful in promoting great sleep. So yes, you can take your vitamin D supplement. I really love again, Energetics has a nice D3, K2. It just makes it readily available in our mucous membranes, just absorb it right away. One of my favorites. But there's nothing like being out in the sun and letting your body soak that up, like letting your skin be bare and be in that sun for about 20 minutes. Now, if we want to touch really briefly on inflammation, really reducing your sugar and gluten intake can make just a phenomenal difference and is a really powerful place to start when you're looking at, I wonder if inflammation is, partly causing my disrupted sleep. So gluten sensitivity will often show up in disrupted sleep patterns. So we can actually, I call it putting people to sleep. I mean, this sounds scary and crazy, but it's just testing you with your eyes closed and really looking at what shows up and what different triggers are there in supporting people in dealing with their disrupted sleep patterns. And this is where we see a lot of food sensitivities, sugar, gluten being the two primary ones that I see. So that could be a lifelong thing for people. A disrupted sleep pattern could be a lifelong thing for people. And gluten being so heavily prevalent in our standard American diet, you could really see how the two go hand in hand. So getting that out is really, really important. Your gluten sensitivity inhibits your body producing serotonin. So that will affect the sleep cycle as well. So you've heard this neurotransmitter being talked about a few times now. So you really see the importance in keeping that balanced sleep there. So we can use nutrition response testing to determine if there are foods that are a concern for you or what might be contributing to your disrupted sleep pattern, whether occasional sleeplessness, whether you get up to pee and then you can't go back to sleep, whether hormones or hot flashes, or whether you're really dealing with a stress response and an ongoing true insomnia case where it's been going on for months or actual years. And one of the things that they say is that we tend to focus as a society on, okay, I'm not sleeping, I'm not sleeping. And so I do all these things in the 30 minutes before I go to bed, and it's just supposed to fix everything about my sleep. Not the case. So it's actually more important to start mastering your day within 30 minutes upon waking in the morning to have the best impact on how your sleep is going to go. So eating within 30 minutes upon waking for your breakfast in the morning, and then continuing an eating pattern throughout the day. I spoke to this earlier. It doesn't mean eating more food or high portions of food. It just means slowing down, or excuse me, slimming down your portions of what you're eating when you are eating. Exercise is going to be important. Fresh air and movement outside, getting that vitamin D, important. Keeping your hydration up, particularly in I say like the first 3/4 of the day. If you can drink the most of your water from the time you wake up until about 6 p.m., you're less likely to wake, because you have to pee at night. So that's something that is easy to monitor. Um, so that will manage the blood sugar too, the small frequent meals. Having that high fat and carb snack that we spoke of before bed is going to be quite helpful. And that could be really up until about 30 minutes before you go to bed. So I know the intermittent fasters are like, no, 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 I have to stop eating at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock. Really, what has to happen is you need to be sleeping better and your blood sugar needs to be balanced. And so, if you're doing fasting and those things aren't happening for some reason, then I would say kind of turn that around and try eating small, frequent meals throughout the day and see if that makes that difference. Um, a winding down routine is nice. It is why we do what we do with our toddlers and our kids. It's time for a bath, or it's time for a shower. Let's read some books. Let's put some cream on our hands. Let's put on some oils, or let's put on some stories. So for adults, it might be like downloading some classical music and putting your phone on airplane mode and letting yourself fall asleep to the sound of music or to the sound of nature versus a TV with a screen and the bright light. Like we've so trained ourselves to fall asleep in this kind of state of activity and overstimulation, but that keeps us in a state of fight or flight instead of really considering that when we're resting, we need to be in a state of rest and digest. Like our body has work to do and our brain has drainage to do. So restorative sleep is really, really important to our overall healing. Now, we are super sensitive to the EMFs, the electromagnetic fields. So this is in your home. This is most likely coming from your cell phone and your wireless router. So some people have timers on their router that turns it off at night, and some will, or they'll just go down and manually turn it down at night, or turn it off, excuse me, and then turn it on in the morning. If you have your phone next to your bed, at least put it in airplane mode so you're like taking that off of, direct radiation within inches from your head. It's so stimulating to your nervous system and is a problem in keeping people from having that undisturbed sleep cycle that they are looking for. There are just so many ways that we can tap into bringing about sleep. There are all these devices. So, like our pulsed electromagnetic therapy mat in the office, that is so great for cell and nerve regeneration, for circulation, for mood balance. It brings about more restorative sleep. There's one thing that I hear of people who use that consistently, they sleep better at night. But again, we just talked about EMFs and how eliminating that exposure can be helpful for that circadian rhythm. There are things like Dave Asprey talks about this. I think it's called the sleep crown pillow, and it's like some kind of yoga. I've never actually seen it before or tried it. There are like acupressure based, I think they call them sleep induction mats. There are certain yoga poses and stretches that you can do before bedtime to support sleep. You could, with the Brain Tap app, just by putting your earbuds in. So again, you could download these so that your phone can be in airplane mode and you can listen to these things without having the EMFs and the Wi-Fi stimulating your brain. So those literally change your brain waves. There's a whole, I believe it's called Sleep RX, that Brain Tap offers. I wish I had a direct link to that, but I think if you just look up the Brain Tap app, I don't remember, it's like $10 or $30 a month, but so worth it. I use Brain Tap several times a week. So lots and lots of things that you could be doing to promote good sleep. some of the obvious for people are, I sit and have a cup of tea at night. I read at night. I journal. I do some stretching. I take a bath and I take a shower. And then some people are like, who has time to do all of these things? Which is why then it's more important to look at how you've started your day and then how you're going to maintain your day, your well being, and managing your stress and food, and then your activity level to support your sleep. Okay, so I just threw a lot of information at you about sleep. If you have questions about your sleep or sleep for a member of your family, you can give us a call here at My Healthy Beginning, 612-418-3801, or you could find us on Facebook or Instagram. You could also find us at www.myhealthybeginning.com. And nutrition response testing is what we use here in our office to help you hone in on what's missing in terms of deficiency, what's toxic in terms of what you've got too much of that's causing problems in your nervous system, and then finding that design clinical nutrition program to support you, because you deserve optimal health and we can help you get there. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. And thanks so much for joining us today.